The opinions expressed in this video reflect the opinions of the participants only and do not reflect the opinions of the producer or the University of Texas School of Law. The University of Texas School of Law and/or the University of Texas in no way endorse this video. The University of Texas School of Law was one of the two original schools of the University of Texas and was founded in 1883. The modern-day UT School of Law is one of the oldest, largest, and highly ranked schools in the nation. In fact, the U.S. News & World Report ranked UT as tied with UCLA as the 15th top law school in the country for 2010. Of the top 20 law schools, only NYU, Georgetown, and Harvard are larger. Some of the advantages of the larger size include more choice in terms of classes, clubs, clinics, journals, and access to the resources of a large research university for interdisciplinary study and/or joint degrees. UT's location in Austin, Texas offers big football, legendary music and nightlife, and remains one of the most affordable of the top 20 law schools with in-state tuition of just over $18,000. Second-year students can also apply for in-state status. Additionally, Austin is the state capital, allowing students access to high-level state governmental and judicial officials. Despite its location in the middle of Texas, UT has a reputation for placing well nationally, which helps draw over 1/3 of students from outside Texas. Let's meet some students.
My name's Kaylani Hawks and I'm from Magnolia, Texas. I came to UT because they have a really great dual degree program with the School of Latin American Studies.
My name is Vin Mittal. I'm a first-year student at UT. Chose to come here basically because it was the best school I got into. I'm from California, grew up there and went to school out there.
My name is Scott Miller. I'm a third-year law student here at University of Texas at Austin. And I grew up in Boston originally. I went to college in Atlanta at Emory University, and I was drawn to the University of Texas to go to law school, mostly because I thought it was the best value, top law school for a great price. So I moved here a couple years before I planned to go to law school. I moved to Houston. I got a job for about a year and a half, established in-state residency, and decided to apply to go to law school here, and all worked out just like that.
How is the weather here generally?
The weather's amazing. It's just a completely different climate than the Northeast. It's pretty much warm the whole school year. Maybe a few weeks during the winter you get a little bit of cold weather, but it's really just snaps of cold weather, nothing prolonged. The summers are pretty hot, but you actually get used to it pretty quickly. And it's really nice. The weather's really nice. It's a very green, outdoorsy kind of city. Austin's a great town, and there's a lot to do outside, so the weather's great.
How would you describe the workload?
It's fine. I don't find it overwhelming. I mean, we work a lot, but I think if you stay on top of your stuff, it's manageable.
The workload first year was definitely very substantial. The first semester here, you sort of take a reduced workload. You take 3 classes, if I'm right, 3 sort of full credit classes and 1 legal writing class, which is just a 1-credit class. So your first semester is a little bit less workload because they're trying to get you acclimated to your new surroundings, law school in general. And then your second semester, you take a full load of classes. But it's really hard to get used to. It's nothing like undergrad. It's a lot more work. It's a different kind of work, and it definitely takes some adjustment.
How have you found the faculty?
The professors here, I think, I should have mentioned this earlier, but really distinguish the school, and they're I think both very interested in making sure the students are understanding what they're teaching and in their scholarship, and I think they also add to the draw of other speakers coming to the campus.
Faculty is excellent. That's like what I've always heard over and over again is that UT's got one of the best teaching faculty. Like these professors are all about teaching, and I don't have a basis for comparison because I didn't go to any other law school. But for my professors, I've always been really open, and like they have office hours, and if you want to set up appointments, they're really cool with that. And you can just tell when they teach that they really care about having kids actually learn the material.
What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of a large law school?
UT Law program's really big. My specific dual degree program's really small. But yeah, my intern class I think was like 450, 440, something like that. It's a lot. It feels really little because they make a big deal, because they know they're so big, you know? So they make such a big deal about everybody having smaller groups and smaller smaller mentor groups and 800 people to talk to about things if you want to. No, it feels very small and manageable. I just think it's good because you also at the same time have 400 other people you can find if you don't like the 7 people you've been given to be friends with. So that's nice.
That was definitely a concern of mine coming here. I know Texas and Harvard are sort of the 2 largest law schools, but your first year you get put in a group of about, I'd say about 20 students. That's sort of your social group to start off the beginning of law school. And you play flag football with them. They establish a little bit of a fund to go out and go to bars, go to restaurants, get to know people. And the sections are about 125 people, but it's pretty amazing how quickly you actually meet everybody in the section, or at least most people in the section, and get to know a lot of people. So I actually like the size of the classes. I think there's more people to meet, and I don't think it's too big at all.
I guess it's just how motivated and how competitive some of the people are. I mean, people are pretty intense in a good way, but sometimes it gets a little tiresome. Not necessarily socially, but more so just in terms of your entire class and your entire section will be pretty motivated. So like I'm just not used to having like every single student I work with being so like driven, which is good. I mean, it makes you work harder, but sometimes it's like you want kind of people to relax and kind of chill out a little bit more. After I guess kind of in some ways knocking the people, I think the people are actually really cool. I mean, I've made some of my best friends in law school. And I think they're people I'll probably know like, my entire life and whatnot. And with that, the challenge is rewarding in some ways. I mean, you learn a lot and you learn a lot really quickly. And I mean, it opens up tons of opportunities. Like just interviewing earlier this semester for my first year job, I think that I got a ton of offers that I didn't think I was going to get. So.
Does idealism tend to decline towards graduation?
I think a lot of people do come to law school with more idealism than they leave with. I think that they come wanting to do more public interest law, government type of work, and end up leaving, going to large firms, doing more corporate work. And I think that's for 2 reasons. One's definitely the loans. I think people get stressed out, especially towards the end of law school, facing down, owing all that money, and make a deal with themselves that they'll do the large firm thing for at least a year or 2 to pay the loans down, and then maybe move on to something that's more rewarding or more in line with what they came to law school to do. But I think also once you come to law school, you I think realize that the large firms provide the kind of training that you can't really get other places, and provide you with more of a chance to try different areas of law that you might not experience if you, say, went to the government to work for the Department of Labor. As a law student, you're not really going to know whether you want to do labor law, and it's sort of hit or miss. If you go to a large firm, you have more of a chance to try things out. But certainly, I think that the school being more inexpensive allows people to do more public interest law, more public interest work for the government. There's scholarships and fellowships that the school puts on, and people around Austin put on that allow people to do that. And certainly there are a lot of students here that are going to go straight into doing that kind of work. And I think other people that even go to firms initially are planning on doing that work.
Do you find the school expensive?
I think it's more expensive than other places in Texas, but I lived in Boston and New York, so I find it really cheap. By comparison, it's really cheap. Especially like housing, I feel like maybe on the more expensive end of things, but every like day-to-day expenses aren't like groceries and toiletries and just normal crap you have to buy, not expensive.
How do you like Austin?
I love Austin. Austin's quite nice. Austin's amazing.
I don't feel like I've experienced Austin like in a true sense. We've gone to downtown, we have bar reviews, we have different things we get to see downtown. And I've been to a couple football games last year and all that, but it is really kind of catered around a little bubble in Austin. Like you don't really experience the city, from my opinion.
Austin's a great city. I spent, as I said, about a year and a half in Houston. I've been to Dallas, San Antonio. I think Austin's the best city in the state. It's liberal, very laid back. It's just a great town. They sort of accept you however you are, no matter what your beliefs, what your lifestyle. There's just a million things to do. And coming from the Northeast, it actually felt initially a little small to me, but now I've adjusted the size, and it feels like there's really nothing missing from the city at all.
Do you have time to have a social life?
You definitely do. Your first year, not as much. I guess at first you do a little bit, and then once you get closer to finals, you realize there's a lot to do. You don't go out quite as much. I definitely like the people here, but there is some competitiveness. Some people are competitive about grades, and especially when you get closer to finals. So it's nothing like the social atmosphere of an undergraduate experience, but there definitely are very good people here, very talented people here, and very nice people here.
I mean, I think it all depends as well, like how you manage your time. If you stay on top of your stuff, I think you have plenty of time to go out until finals get closer, and then you're not doing anything but finals. But yeah.
Are sports a big deal here?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's UT. It's a, Big Ten school. You gotta go to the football games, the basketball games, and keep up with the stuff. And you don't have to, but it's quite fun. But they don't make it readily apparent how easy it is to get tickets. Like, there are some steps you have to follow, but you can find tickets. And they have big student sections, and tickets are reserved for students, and yeah.
What drew you to law school?
I think there's just cool jobs you can do. Like, there's a lot of opportunities, and you make money, and it's a great, I think, profession overall in terms of what you can do.
Being in the middle of the continent, is it difficult to attract recruiters and speakers?
My first summer, I worked for the Department of Justice up in Boston with the U.S. Attorney's Office. My second summer, I worked for a large firm up there in Boston, and I'm going to go and work for them after I graduate. But I actually was pleasantly surprised by the fact that it is pretty. They do a good job here, I think, of setting people up for jobs, not just in Texas, but across the country. And the school has a good reputation on the East Coast, and I've heard on the West Coast as well. So it's not like that, people look down on you if you're on the East Coast or West Coast. Those recruiters aren't looking down on you as going to some Texas school as inferior to, say, a Georgetown or another East Coast school. They know UT well, and the school here does a pretty good job. I think they could improve, but they do a pretty good job of recruiting outside of Texas. We get great speakers here, both at the law school and at the LBJ school, the government school, which is right across the street. I think we get great speakers. I don't think there's any lack of quality scholarship coming through here.
What would you only know about UT by attending?
The people come from so many different schools. I really expected to see a lot of people from UT, a lot of people from top Ivy League schools and schools I've heard of. People come from everywhere. We have people from Sam Houston State University and somebody from Harvard sitting next to each other in class, and I really like that.
Do you need a car to go to school here?
I don't know if you need a car. I know people who don't have cars here. I'm a Texan by nature, so I feel like you need a car everywhere. I always have my car. I think it's more fun to have a car because you're in the middle of Texas and you're in the hill country, and on the weekends you can go all sorts of places and do all sorts of things if you have a car, much easier than if you didn't. But Austin, I think, has really good transportation if you don't. And all your friends are gonna have cars, so if you don't, someone does.
I think a car would be definitely helpful. I have a car, and just public transport is good for getting to the school and back, but doing other things even extracurricularly or just bare necessities like grocery shopping and all that, the car is definitely helpful.
What advice do you have for prospective students looking at law schools in general and UT in particular?
I would say UT is a great place to look at. The tuition has gone up somewhat significantly in the last couple of years, even for in-state residents, but it's still, I think, the best value out of any other law school out there. I have friends that went to private schools on the East Coast that have a lot of loans, owe a lot more money than I do, and it is a real burden when you graduate, especially if you don't have a job right away, and it's a definite concern. UT is certainly not cheap, but it's compared to other law schools, especially private law schools, it's much cheaper, and it's much more manageable when you graduate. I'd say if you're in Texas, it's a great option, and if you're coming from other parts of the country, it's also a great choice because you really will have an opportunity to, if you want to move back to where you're coming from, to get back there. And the firms and government jobs and all those people will look at you coming from University of Texas. So.
For law school in general, I would say, when I visited here, I just like the atmosphere a little bit. I kind of got a gut feeling and kind of went with it. Looked at some numbers, saw what people are doing after graduation. For picking UT, there's some pluses of it is that it's a big school, so you'll meet people from all backgrounds. Minus is that it's a big school, so you might feel like it's too big. But I think UT does a great job of breaking down that big school feel. They have mentor groups, different events early on to kind of get you to know your first year class really well. And it's a top 15 school, so if you do well here, you'll get a job somewhere or wherever you want.
Why law school at UT?
I can't talk up Austin enough. That's probably the only thing I'm missing. I was completely sold on the city, and that's coming from someone who had a pretty significant East Coast bias to start with. So Austin's a great town. It's a lot of music, and great experience.